All right, we're going to do a quick tutorial on how to get our roof plan showing in your mechanical set. There's a couple different scenarios you might run across. We'll cover two of the scenarios. The third one is a little more complicated and needs a little more kind of one-on-one trial and error to get it to work right. We'll look at this one first. In this example, we've got the architectural model, and they have got pretty much the whole building modeled, which is really helpful. So we know that there's the floor plan and the window height, the soffit. This joist bearing is the level that we've chosen to pick as essentially level 2 in our Dunham template here. So the Dunham standard, as you are aware, has got these 5 levels, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And corresponding in an elevation, this is the basement is always 0, level 1 is the floor, and then as we count up, level 2 is going to be this joist bearing, level 3 is the low parapet, and level 4 is way up here in oblivion. It's important to keep track of these and where you locate these in your initial setup. In some cases, maybe we choose a ceiling level as level 2, and then the roof level would be level 3, or maybe level 4 is actually going to be the roof level. So it's just important to understand where these are in relation to the units that you're going to be placing or have placed already, and how that's going to show up in your views. In this case, we have the first level with the view range set up high enough where we can see the RTU units, but let's say a building department wants to see a separate roof plan. So in that case, we would turn this range back down so that it is a little bit lower. So we're going to maybe so it's based off level 1, and level 2 is going to be the 16-foot level. And if we go to the section view, can't see the rooftop unit. So let's see, hope it's not on this. So let's check our work sets and what work set this is on. It's on a mechanical and plumbing work set, which is likely turned off in your section view, not visible. So let's turn that on. Show. There we go. Now there's our rooftop unit. So if we select it, we can see that it's 14 feet off the ground. So we want to try and get the level 1 view to not be showing the rooftop units, but to show the duct drops from the unit. So if we go to the view range, we can see that the cut plane is at that 4 feet above level 1, which is fine, and it's going up to the bottom of the joist bearing. But if we make that like -2 inches, it should nope, and that didn't work because it's taking the joist bearing at 16 feet. So 2 inches below that is 15 foot 10. So I don't want that. I want it to be, let's see, about 2 foot 2 inches, 2 foot 1 inches below level 2, which is this joist bearing level. So -2 foot 2. And it can be a little bit of an iterative process to figure this out, so don't be discouraged that it takes you a couple tries to get it looking correctly. You can see here, we can see the duct drops, but it's not real great, so let's try 1 inch higher, 1 inch higher still. There we go. Now we can see this duct drop showing in the hidden line style. Down here, hidden line. So in this case now I would probably add a tag that says, duct up to rooftop unit on each of these. Now let's go to the second level and see what that looks like. We can see that our units are showing, and actually because the levels are set up pretty good and the view range appears to be fairly close, our units are showing. But what we're not seeing is the duct drops going down, and that's always helpful to be mindful of where that is. So if you recall, our units were at 14 feet, right? 14 feet here. And right now, the second level is set up so that it's cutting 4 feet above this view. And actually, let's just split this out a little bit. And see if we can kind of get a visual side by side of what's happening. So we can see that the unit is at, this is our joist bearing at 16, and the view range, so the level above is the low parapet, and that's up higher. That's this low parapet, that's at 20 feet. And that's fine, but the cut plane is 4 feet above the joist bearing, so it's 4 feet, so essentially it is at that low joist. And the bottom of our plane is at 0, so we're cutting through the unit, or we're cutting through the view at 4 feet above, and the bottom of the view is at this joist bearing level. But we want to drop that down to try and see the duct drops here. So if we lower that view to that -2 foot 2, and we're going to do the same for our view depth, and hit apply, and hopefully okay, so come to find out, we're having a little bit of trouble here is because the architect has modeled the walls. All of these demising walls, the interior partition walls, are modeled all the way up to this, the bottom of joist bearing, which is higher than our structure and higher than what our units are. So no matter where we cut this, these walls are going to show up in our cut plane. So essentially what we need to do is model it correctly, which is move all of these up to at least that 16-foot level. So now it's showing up above the plane, above the structure, and we should be able to adjust our view range so that the cut plane is, I don't know, 2 inches above perhaps, and the bottom is at that joist bearing level. And hopefully, yeah, there we go. You can see that it removes those walls so that they're not showing up. So that is a little bit of some gymnastics to try and get that to work. But hopefully that it gives you a little understanding of maybe a few things to look for if something isn't showing right. A few modifications that we may need to make to our drafting or our modeling of something to get a roof plan to show up correctly. So that is our roof plan ready to go, and you can obviously tag these things as necessary to get those things to show as well. And I presume these fans are, yes, at 14 feet. So if I move these to 16, presumably, yeah, now you can see that the duct is showing up the way it ought. Now, just for giggles, let's see what happens to our plan here, and there's really no change to this plan. So that's the first scenario you would run across on creating a roof plan. It's maybe a little more cumbersome. Hopefully, though, that kind of gives you an idea of what to look for when you're setting one of those up. Across that I'll just mention here is when the architect doesn't model any other levels. They've got the level 1 modeled, and that's it. There's no roof or nothing else, and so we're left with the arbitrary Dunham standard levels where level 1 is at 0, level 2 is at 10, level 3 is at 20, and level 4 is at 30. In that case, it's still beneficial to try and set your level 2 or 3, whatever it is, up to be similar in reality to what your roof deck is or your next level, so that you can accurately show a roof plan and get it to look something similar to what it should look like if the architect. The one difference is you might need to extend the view range down further if they didn't model their walls up high enough. So sometimes they'll only model their walls up to 8 feet. So it might be a little cumbersome to try and show their walls or the outline of their building without showing, some of our ductwork, which would be above the ceiling. So that's just kind of one thing to be mindful of. And certainly when you have troubles or complications, there's a lot of resources available to us to get things looking the way they ought. The third scenario is when we've got a CAD file as from the architect. Nothing is modeled up, and again, in this case, it's still beneficial to get that roof deck level situated in a close proximity to what is actually going to happen. So when you put the rooftop units at that level, you've got something to reference off of and something for your views to reference. I will note again that to get these to show up correctly, it's beneficial to draw that vertical line in the Z-axis in the CAD background so that when Revit cuts a plane, it sees that there's a bit of the CAD file and it shows up with the background. But here you can see, in this case, we've got our bottom of the roof deck at 19 feet. So when we go to our roof plan here and cut a section, go to view, you can see the bottom of the deck level is set here, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4. We just moved this up to be closer to reality, and these are set at 1 foot above the bottom of the deck for reference. So then our view range for this view is going to be set. The top is the level above, which is level 3. The bottom is at 4 feet. So it's going to be cutting 4 feet above the bottom of the deck. And then the bottom of the range is going to be at the roof deck. So as those ducts penetrate, the duct here, it's also showing that, but we're not going to get any of that ductwork below that to show. Hopefully that helps you set up a roof plan a little bit quicker and easier. And of course, as always, let me know if you have questions.